Hey everyone, welcome to 59 Topps Friday presented by Wax Pack Wisdom, where we talk baseball history through the cards we love. My name is Jake T. O'Donnell. We built the iconic 1959 Topps baseball set, and in this series we're going through every card to talk about the players, teams, and people who made up Major League Baseball in 1959. Today, we'll cover cards 431 through 438 in the set. Card number 431 belongs to Whammy Douglas of the Cincinnati Redlegs. Douglas did not appear in MLB in 1959. His only appearances in the majors came with the Pirates in 1957. Born in North Carolina, Douglas eventually reached the majors despite losing an eye at the age of 11 and having it replaced with a glass one. His nickname reportedly came from putting the whammy on hitters by looking at them with his glass eye. Douglas pitched 4 seasons in the minors before his debut. In one of his minor league seasons, Douglas won 27 games with Brunswick of the Class D Georgia-Florida League. In 1957, Douglas pitched in 11 games for the Pirates, starting 8 and earning a 3.26 ERA in 27 innings. He was later involved in a big trade with the Reds that involved slugger Frank Thomas going to the Reds and Don Hoke, Harvey Haddix, and Smoky Burgess going to the Pirates. While Douglas did not pitch again in MLB after 1957, he pitched in the minors through 1961, briefly returning in 1965. He died in 2014 at the age of 79. Card number 432 belongs to Smoky Burgess of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 1959 was his 10th MLB season. Forrest Harrell Burgess was born in western North Carolina and originally signed with the Cardinals as a teenager, but the deal was voided when it was determined he was too young to sign with a big league team. The next year he signed with the Cubs instead. He enlisted in the Army and missed most of 2 seasons serving, spending time in Germany as World War II was winding down. Back in the States, he established himself as a strong hitting catcher, winning back-to-back batting titles in the minors in 1947 and 1948. Burgess debuted with Chicago in 1949, spent 1950 in the minors, and returned to the majors for good in 1951. After that season, he was traded first to the Reds and then the Phillies. In Philly, he was an All-Star in 1954 and batted .368 despite not qualifying for the batting title. Early in 1955, he was traded back to the Reds, where he was again an All-Star. There, he split time with Ed Bailey, a better defensive catcher, but not the hitter Burgess was. Burgess stuck around Cincinnati until 1959 when he was involved in a multiplayer trade that sent him to Pittsburgh. At a time when there were 2 All-Star games each year, Burgess made 6 total NL All-Star teams in his first 3 years with the Pirates. He was the Bucs' primary catcher during their pennant-winning 1960 campaign. Burgess went 6 for 18 in the World Series, and the Pirates won in 7 games. Burgess made the last of his 9 All-Star teams in 1964, the same year he was claimed off waivers by the White Sox. He'd spend his final 3 MLB seasons there. During a time when pitchers still batted in the American League, Burgess effectively became a full-time pinch hitter with the White Sox, tying the AL record for pinch hits in a season with 20 in 1966. Upon his retirement after 1967, Burgess was the all-time MLB leader in pinch hits with 145 and was second all-time in pinch homers with 16. Burgess owned a car dealership in North Carolina and later worked for years as an instructor in the Braves organization. He was inducted into the Halls of Fame for North Carolina sports, North Carolina American Legion baseball, and the Cincinnati Reds. He died in 1991 at the age of 64. Card number 433 belongs to Billy Harrell of the St. Louis Cardinals. Harrell did not play in MLB in 1959, nor did he ever appear for the Cardinals. Harrell grew up in Troy, New York, and was a multi-sport star, becoming the first black player ever selected to play in the annual Hearst Sandlot Classic in 1946. Later, he earned a scholarship to play basketball at Siena College and appeared for the baseball team there as well. He signed with the Birmingham Black Barons of the Negro American League in 1951 and later turned down chances to play in both the NBA and for the Harlem Globetrotters to sign a contract with the Indians. Harrell eventually debuted for them late in the 1955 season, playing 13 games at shortstop and batting .421 in limited action. Harrell spent 1956 in the minors and played 22 games with the Indians in 1957. His most MLB action came in 1958 when he played 101 games, split mostly between shortstop and third base, hitting .218. The Cardinals claimed him off waivers for 1959, and he spent the next 2 seasons in the minors. For 1961, the Red Sox took a chance on Harrell, and he played 37 games there, batting .162. That would be the last he'd play in MLB, but he stuck around the minors mostly for the Red Sox through 1966. In his career, he ended up playing in over 1,500 minor league games, batting .284. After he finished playing baseball, Harrell worked for the New York Department of Corrections in Albany. He died in 2014 at the age of 85. Card number 434 belongs to Hal Griggs of the Washington Senators. 1959 was his fourth and last season in the big leagues. The Georgia native pitched parts of 4 seasons for the Senators from 1956 through 1959, starting and relieving over the course of 105 games with a 5.50 ERA in 347 innings. After his final season in the majors, Griggs stuck around the minors for 4 more seasons, with 2 of them coming in Hawaii, where he worked exclusively out of the bullpen. Griggs pitched a winter in the Nicaraguan Winter League and then put his glove away for good. In his retirement, he played golf extensively and worked various jobs, including in sales, construction, and building maintenance. He died in 2005 at the age of 76. Card number 435 belongs to Frank Robinson of the Cincinnati Redlegs. 1959 was his 4th major league season. Other names from this era of baseball perhaps have more resonance in 2025, but Frank Robinson should remain on the shortest of short lists of the greatest players to ever play the game. A hard-nosed, leave-it-all-on-the-field superstar, Robinson was a trailblazer as a player, manager, and executive who devoted virtually his entire adult life to Major League Baseball. Robinson was the youngest of 10 children, and after his parents' divorce, he moved with his mother from Texas to California, eventually settling in West Oakland. He was a multi-sport star in his youth and attended McClymonds High School with future NBA legend Bill Russell. Cincinnati signed Robinson to play baseball in 1953, and he played 3 strong years in the minors before breaking camp with the Reds for 1956 at the age of 20. Installed as their regular left fielder, Robinson was a revelation on a surprising Reds club, winning the NL Rookie of the Year award, making the All-Star team, leading the NL in runs scored with 122, while hitting 38 home runs, a rookie record that stood for over 3 decades. Through his first 12 years of his career, Robinson averaged 34 homers and 102 RBI a season, batted .304 with a .392 on-base percentage, and was consistently an All-Star and top 10 MVP finisher. Robinson moved to right field in 1961 and won the National League MVP award after hitting 37 homers with 124 RBI, leading the Reds to the World Series. They'd lose to the Yankees, with Robinson hitting a homer but going just 3 for 15 in the series. Year after year, Robinson produced, but Reds owner Bill DeWitt Sr. believed Robinson would slow down as he reached his 30s, and DeWitt shockingly traded Robinson to the Orioles after the 1965 season. The trade spectacularly backfired on the Reds, as none of the 3 players acquired amounted to much, but Robinson's impact on a young Orioles team was immediate in 1966, winning the AL pennant and sweeping out the Dodgers to win the World Series. Robinson won the Triple Crown, hitting a career-high 49 homers with 122 RBI and a .316 average, taking home AL MVP honors. Robinson was the only player in Major League history to win MVP trophies in both leagues until Shohei Ohtani equaled the feat in 2024. With the arrival of Earl Weaver as manager in the late 60s, the Orioles, led by both Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson, entered a dynastic era, winning AL pennants for 3 straight years from 1969 through 1961, claiming the World Series again in 1970. While still productive on the field, the Orioles traded Frank Robinson in 1972 to the Dodgers, who subsequently traded him to the Angels for 1973. He made the last of his 14 All-Star teams in 1974. Late in that season, he was claimed on waivers by the Indians. Heading into the 1975 season, the Indians made history, naming Robinson the first black manager ever in MLB. He continued to play sporadically for the Indians through 1976 while managing. Robinson finished his MLB career with 586 home runs, a .294 average, and just over 1,800 career RBI. Only Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, and Willie Mays had more career homers than Robinson at the time of his retirement. Robinson managed 1 more year in Cleveland in 1977 before he was dismissed. He coached the Angels and Orioles organizations before he became the first black manager in National League history with the Giants in 1981. He stayed for 3 seasons and part of a 4th. In 1982, Robinson was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. He eventually returned to the Orioles first in the front office and then as manager for parts of 4 seasons from 1988 through 1991. From 1999 to 2002, Robinson was MLB's vice president for on-field operations. When MLB took ownership of the Montreal Expos, Robinson was tasked with managing the club and led them to winning seasons in 2002 and 2003, and also managed the Washington Nationals for their first 2 years after moving from Montreal. Robinson then returned to MLB and worked in several executive capacities in the commissioner's office, including as honorary president of the American League in his final years. In 2005, Robinson was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He died in 2019 at the age of 83. Card number 436 belongs to Granny Hamner of the Philadelphia Phillies. 1959 was Hamner's 16th year in the big leagues. Hamner was a shortstop and second baseman who spread his 17-year major league career between the Phillies, Indians, and Athletics, the vast majority of which would be with the Phillies. In 1944, Hamner made his major league debut, and in 1945, at the age of 17, Hamner started in the opening day lineup for the Phillies, the youngest to have played in an opening day game, a record that still stands as of this recording. Hamner's brother Gavin was also a major league infielder. In the 1950 World Series, the Phillies were swept by the Yankees, but not for a lack of effort on Granny Hamner's part. He batted .492 in the series. In 1952, he was named captain of the Phillies. He was a three-time All-Star from 1952 to 1954. He was the starting shortstop in the 1952 All-Star game, which was called off after 5 innings due to rain. In 1959, Hamner was traded to the Indians, where he would only bat .164. Following his half-season with the Indians, Hamner briefly appeared as a pitcher for the Athletics during the 1962 season. In his 17 major league seasons, Hamner would end his big league career with a .262 average, 104 homers, and 708 RBI. In 1980, Hamner was one of several drivers who were able to stop their vehicle on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Florida before reaching the area where the bridge had collapsed. 35 lives were lost that day. Thankfully, Hamner was not one of them. In 1981, he was inducted into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Hamner was also put on the Phillies Wall of Fame. He died in 1993 at the age of 66 from a heart attack. Card number 437 belongs to Ike DeLock of the Boston Red Sox. 1959 was DeLock's 7th year in the big leagues. DeLock was a right-handed pitcher who spent his 11 years in the big leagues with the Red Sox and Orioles, although the majority of that time was with the Red Sox. His older brother Joe was also a pitcher with potential, playing in the Red Sox and White Sox farm systems, but he never made it to the big leagues. In 1956, Ike DeLock led the American League with 11 relief wins, while tying for 4th with 9 saves, although the latter was not an official statistic at the time. DeLock's best season was in 1959 when he went 11-6 with a 2.95 ERA. In 1962, a knee injury contributed to the beginning of the end of DeLock's major league career. In 1963, DeLock made just 7 appearances, 5 of which would be with the Orioles. DeLock ended his big league career with an 84-75 win-loss record, a 4.03 ERA, and 672 strikeouts. Following his big league career, DeLock worked for Northwest Airlines as a sales representative. Additionally, DeLock would lend his talents to the National Sports Camp in Connecticut. DeLock died in 2022 at the age of 92. Card number 483 belongs to Sam Esposito of the Chicago White Sox. 1959 was Esposito's 6th year in the big leagues. Esposito was a third baseman and shortstop who spread his time in the big leagues with the White Sox and Athletics. He replaced third baseman Billy Goodman and batted twice in Game 1 of the 1959 World Series against the Dodgers, going 0-2. The Dodgers would win the series. In his 10 major league seasons, Esposito had a .207 batting average, 8 home runs, and 73 RBI. But Esposito had a second career as an outstanding and respected college baseball coach. Esposito was the head baseball coach at North Carolina State University from 1967 to 1987, where he earned the record of winningest coach with a record of 513, 253, and 4. He was also an assistant basketball coach there, and his time included winning the 1974 NCAA basketball championship. Esposito was named the Atlantic Coast Conference Baseball Coach of the Year in 1986. He coached many players who went on to have major league careers, including Mike Caldwell, Tim Stoddard, Dan Plesac, Doug Strange, and Greg Briley. Esposito died in 2018 at the age of 86. That's going to do it for this edition of 59 Tops Friday on Wax Pack Wisdom. Today's episode was written by Abby O'Donnell and Jake T. O'Donnell. Do you have a story about one of the people, players, or teams we discussed today? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our Wax Pack Wisdom content. In the video description, you'll find our source material for this episode, links to where you can follow us on all social media channels, as well as a list of our favorite nonprofits and charities. Please consider a donation to one of them if you enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Wax Pack Wisdom. Take care.